Welcome to the Globetrotters Guide to Tech Travel. My name is Sherry Huss, and I'm head of community at Freeman. Freeman is a global leader in events, and we like to make moments matter. Today, we want to talk about making moments matter in travel, and have a great panel here to share what they're up to. But I think it's a combination of everything from technology, how's that going to work, to seamless and frictionless travel. And we've got a generational overlay and a whole host of other things. So without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Richie, Dr. K. And he's going to give a little bit about his perspective about what's going on in the travel world. Oops, there you go.
All right, good morning. Thank you for coming. So my name is Dr. Richie Karaburun. I teach in hospitality school at NYU. I predominantly teach entrepreneurship, hospitality technology, and transit travel and tourism. So our semester is 14 weeks. So I'm going to actually give you what we teach in 14 weeks in the next 5 minutes. And I'm not going to charge you $7,000, which is our tuition for this class. So that's basically this whole conference is all about revolutionizing every single industry. So we're going to focus on travel and what are the technologies and the trends, basically. So I'm just going to go quickly on what trends are. So these are some of the trends that we see in the industry. And one is all about experiential travel, right? So with the technology, how technology is going to help with the experiences. We used to say data is the king, cash is the king. Now we say experience is the new currency. So it's all about that. What experiences do you actually want your customers to do? This is in every single industry, by the way, not only travel, education, healthcare, etc. The second one, we talk a lot about the sustainable tourism. In the age of AI, even now, and it was very nice for me to see AI and sustainability together in the all aisles of the convention center this week. So I'm sure you're going to see that from the panelists as well, that every single vertical in the travel business, airlines, hotels, OTAs, they're all talking about sustainability. And this became very critical issue after the COVID as well. We always say BC and AC, not before COVID, before COVID, after COVID. So we have one planet only. So that's really the case. One of the things what COVID also did is the expedited the digitalization of the society. So digital first experiences. So how you basically digitize the entire customer journey. And again, you're going to see from my esteemed panelists that how they do that when you actually travel. This is again the case for every single industry, anywhere from education into travel as well. The other is all about the cultural and the generational issues. And you see in every single panel I go, we've talked about Gen Zs and millennials. They are now in the workforce and they have the money to spend. How are you actually basically catering that generation as well? One of the most important thing that I think during COVID, people realized death is real. We can die anytime. And then that wellness and wellness travel and health and wellness and be leisure, some people hate that word, business/leisure all together. So a lot of the travel suppliers are actually talking about how they can actually add, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing this from Arlie as well, that they do great Hyatt hotels and similar to other hotel chains as well. Everyone's into wellness as well here. So the key, we actually talk a lot about this personalization versus hyper-personalization. We used to talk 10 years ago, we used to call this customization, customized travel, customization, and it was just a general market segmentation. If you're a millennial, making over $60,000, living in the East Coast, let's actually customize the travel offerings. Now, what AI did is a great tool, that hyper-personalization, basically using all the data that we actually, the hotel suppliers or the airlines are gathering it, how can you actually hyper-personalize the experience of travel? Whether it's the airfare, whether it's the hotels. So that's just really the case. So ask yourself in your companies as well that how do you hyper-personalize? Do you use AI to hyper-personalize the cases? Anywhere, I mean, we spend by now, like almost 48 hours in this hotel, in the rooms. They should have tremendous amount of data, what I like, what I dislike about my hotel stay. do they actually use that for my next stay? And unfortunately, not that everybody is actually doing that. So I put a couple of the examples on this as well. Some travel suppliers are ahead as well. Some are just getting that. But really, you're going to be hearing a lot more because the new generation demands the hyper-personalization as well. The other one, Sherry mentioned, frictionless travel. We talk a lot in the classes about the customer journey, from the dreaming, booking, pre-travel, during travel, post-travel. So, and now everything is supposed to be connected, from Uber to airlines to hotels, the restaurant as well. So again, the new generation is really demanding frictionless travel during their travel time. So again, ask yourself, what do you do about it? AI. I always say 800-pound gorilla in the room, even in CES. And it started a couple of years ago. People think AI is the future. I say, no, AI actually is the present. And now look where we are. We are already starting with chatbots and virtual assistants. Everybody's getting better and better at it. Predictive analysis. Some actually companies are using greatly how to predict the demand, how to predict the prices. Dynamic pricing is the key right now. I've seen a lot of AI companies on the convention center talking about the dynamic pricing. And again, how can you actually help the environment with sustainability using AI basically as well. And I'm going to be moving the next emerging trends. Basically, it's all space tourism is a big thing. I've seen some companies over here. It's right now is a very niche. I'm waiting about 15 to 20 years, especially with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, with all the billions that they have. And I think space tourism is going to be a mass market product, about 20 years. Metaverse, a lot of the companies are actually using this with extended reality, especially with all the tools that you guys are seeing in CES. That's only going to help that. And that's going to make the smart hotels in our business as well. That's basically, even the hotels are now integrating with Amazon's and all the Alexas for the voice controlled room settings and many more. And sustainability, and again, Arlie can talk about Hyatt Thrive program, incorporating environmental sustainability into operations as well. This is just really a great tool. So key takeaways is hyper-personalization is the key. And again, ask yourself, what do you do about it? Frictionless journey. Are you really actually giving the frictionless journey for all your customers? Again, pre-purchase, post-purchase, and AI's expanding the role. AI is a tool that how you can actually use this. And sustainability and innovative leadership, and that comes from the top. Some of the CEOs in our industry are really pushing that, and that's just really one of the key things as well. I think I covered it all in 14 weeks and 5 minutes. So.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Richie. And now I'd like to introduce Heather Dahl, who's the CEO of Indicio. Heather?
Thank you. One of the areas that we talk about when we talk about frictionless, we talk about AI, we talk about what's next in travel and hospitality, but the lifeblood under that is the traveler, the passenger. It's actually the identity. And it's not only the identity of the actual person doing the traveling who are your guests, it's the identity of the organizations in which that person engages with. When you think about fraud or phishing, how do they know that they're really buying a ticket from your organization's website? And that's where we see the future of how do you remove friction and create this frictionless, seamless experience when you have all these different centralized ways of data. So what I'm going to talk about is maybe seen as some of the most unglamorous part of the story, but is actually the linchpin that brings this together. You're also emerging in a world where we talk about this frictionless experience, but you also have growing regulations around the world that are prohibiting centralized databases, centralized ways of storing, that are prohibiting how you gather and how much information you can gather. So then it becomes more difficult. If you're depending on data masses in order to make your decisions and make your offers, then you throw in AI. Where are they getting that data? How are they getting that data? And are you just making faster, more personalized decisions with bad data? So that's not going to achieve your goal. One of the things that we can see is that We are moving to a world of a digital travel credential. This is called a DTC, an ICAO Digital Travel Credential Type 1 for the nerds in the room. What this does is think of it as your paper passport, for instance, but instead of holding the paper, you have the freedom of your passport because it is stored in your device. It is not stored in a centralized database run by another party. And that DTC that is held in your phone is trusted just like the passport you carry with you. This DTC Type 1 is creating the seamless cross-border experiences. In fact, just about a month ago, we worked with Delta in using the DTC Type 1 to facilitate seamless travel from Atlanta to Aruba. What happened was the passengers were able to clear borders before they even left for the airport. And when they arrived in Aruba, they used a biometric that the traveler provided directly to the government of Aruba and cleared the border upon arrival in about 8 seconds. That reduced it down significantly from what you do. But the key here is all this is done privacy by design. It's the traveler who is holding their information now. We're also moving to a world of bring your own biometrics. So the biometric token, that's so 2024. Bring your own biometrics allows you to have the ability to obtain and verify a person without holding the biometric in a centralized database. This means there are no tokens, no centralized storage. It's shared by consent, and it meets GDPR. So if you don't have the EU Digital Identity Wallet on your bingo card for 2025, 2026, I would add that because that will surprise you, just like I think for much of us outside the EU on GDPR, one day we didn't think about it, and the next day it was everything. Same thing's going to happen with the EU Digital Identity Wallet, so you want to be ready for it. The key here is with the DTC is that it works with any system, that you don't get into locked-in proprietary platforms, that you have to stay within that system. There is interoperability through the protocols and specification of a digital travel credential. And I will also say that the digital travel credential is a credential that other industries are deploying now. This is not specific to travel. It goes across finance, education, agriculture, are all moving to this DTC. When you think about your travel right now, from the time you book your ticket to the time you sit in your hotel room, you go through more than 11 presentations of identity or something about yourself. That is exhausting. And if this continues, how do you create that frictionless experience when you don't remove 11 steps? When you depart some countries, you are sharing your identity from the time you showed up at the airport to the time you sit in your seat more than 23 times. This is what the friction is. So until we solve this identity and create systems that are interoperable, we're never going to have that seamless journey that we talk about. And the fact is you can't reset a face. And this is what makes biometrics and the reliance on biometric tokens, for instance, or the centralized storage of biometrics by enterprises especially concerning as we move forward. When you read Gartner, you look at court rulings that are coming out of the European Union, we're starting to see that biometrics are becoming decentralized. What I mean by that is you carry your biometrics in your wallet and you share a template in which to verify upon consent. And that's the world we're moving to, is that when we travel the seamless journey, when we engage with chatbots, when we use AI, that we're the ones in control providing our information directly with consent. So in a way, companies no longer have to anticipate what we want because they collected data on us over the years. We can tell them how we feel right now, what we need in the moment, and how they can serve us better based on the experience that we're in. And that's ultimately, I think, all of our goals in travel and hospitality.
Wow, that's great. That was excellent. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Ranjan Goswami, who is at Delta and is the SVP of Customer Experience Design. Ooh, that's a big one. And I'll just take a moment. How many of you attended the Delta keynote the other day? Pretty amazing, right? And I would say, if the others that you haven't attended, you should actually go and check it out online, because it pretty much, like I told Ranjan, they nailed it. Just everything from talk about experience and then hitting all the key points. So, Ranjan, take it away.
Thanks, Sherry. Well, first, thank you all for being here. We're thrilled to celebrate our centennial, our 100 years, starting with this kickoff at CES. And if you haven't seen our presentation from the Sphere, please do tune in. Dr. K, I'm really happy, I'm relieved, actually, as you went through all of your big takeaways. I think we hit on a lot of them for the next 100 years of travel, and we couldn't be more excited. Even though we are 100, we are actually invigorated about the innovation that's before us and everything Heather also discussed. So I actually thought what we would do is just start real quick with a clip from our CES presentation.
And customize your food and beverage experience. Then, explore your recommendations from Delta Concierge to take the hassle out of planning and enjoy your destination as soon as you land. When it's almost time to touch down, arrival mode makes the moments after landing a breeze. Get directions through the airport and make sure your rideshare is ready when you are. Now sit back, relax, and thank you again for choosing Delta.
So the idea here is, how do you create a true experience? Yes, we've got to get you from point A to point B on time with your bags every single time. We're the most reliable airline to do that. But you can make the experience that much more enriching. And we have customers 500,000 to 700,000 a day on our airplanes, spending at least 2.5 hours with us. And what we believe we can do is engage them meaningfully in a hyper-personalized way through our onboard environment. So Delta 2 years ago came to CES and launched free Wi-Fi to all of our members. We're now at 730 airplanes with free Wi-Fi, and what we essentially did was created 2 new channels for our customers to interact with us, live, logged-in member channels. The first, of course, is through your PED device, where you log in and you get to Delta Sync Wi-Fi, which not only gives you the internet, but gives you all these experiences to also take part in because of a member. We just launched that YouTube is going to join that partnership, bevy of partnerships, where you'll be able to enjoy all of YouTube Premium while you're on your flight, no matter where you are, and for 24 hours, so that portability as well. But what you just saw in that video is taking the screens that we have 165,000 screens, more than any airline in the world, and making them smart screens. So Delta Sync Seatback allows you to log in as a member to that screen, and now that screen with hyper-personalization and with AI is going to help you make the best of all that content, help you plan your arrival mode. So this is really a journey of the aircraft being a platform for digital engagement. It's a journey for us where 2 new channels join our Fly Delta app, which is the ultimate personalization app and companion for our customers. And ultimately, I think the seamlessness between the app, Delta Sync Wi-Fi, Delta Sync Seatback, all of these things that, and to your point, Dr. K, we have such an opportunity to learn about our customers. They spend so much time with us. And then you put AI on top of this and essentially taking friction out of every step and creating a delighted experience in every step in its place. So super excited to talk more about that today.
Excellent. Thank you, Ranjan. And now I'd like to introduce Arlie Sisson from Hyatt, and Arlie is the SVP Global Head of Digital, and that's big. So Arlie?
That's very kind. Thank you. So thrilled to be here. And Dr. K and I get to partner on a ton, not only in terms of our education programs at Hyatt, but also we had a recent publication published, I think just yesterday, on the neurodivergent traveler and their experiences. So I'm so thrilled to be here. And I would say the innovation that the 2 of you lead are inspirations to myself and team every single day. So thank you also for sharing that. We have a quick video, and I'm going to start with that. I think it very eloquently illustrates not only the antithesis of what we want everyone to think about in terms of as you move forward and travel, but also I would say the excitement, the care that we want to bring to our guests, because as my panelists also just described, there is absolutely a ton that you could do, but what should you do? And I think that the video I'll show you here is very illustrative of what we were trying to accomplish. I love that video because I think it clearly illustrates a lot of what Dr. K had as well in his opening slide. So can we personalize things? Absolutely. How are we going to start doing that? And we'll get into that in a few questions. I know we have prepped, and so I'll save that. But I think it's also about what do travelers want, and what do they want from certain companies at certain points. And we take that in a very valuable, I would say, deep perspective way at Hyatt. We make sure that care being the center of everything that we do that in a way that feels comfortable, trusted, because we have point A to point B, but we are also where people stay, right, when they're in these places. And so we take that very seriously, both from a security perspective, but also from the experiences that we build. And frictionless to us just doesn't mean being able to book a room. It means the entire journey. And so what you're seeing there is even outside of, we call it day to day instead of stay to stay. And how are we making sure that we're prevalent in people's lives where they want us, and we're also bringing enriching, exciting experiences to them along the way.
Great. Well, where do we start? There's lots of questions. I think the biggest one that I have is security. There's so much data about me out there. I can never remember what was my password, where's this, I have to go and look it up. How is everyone feeling about security? I'll just stop there. How's everyone feeling about cybersecurity, and where is my data and where's it going?
I can just say that we call this in our research as paradoxical P's, personalization and privacy. And this is being discussed a lot. And that's why if you look at it, many of the universities are actually opening a master's in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is one of the highest growing career track. I tell my students to consider that as well. And there's a huge difference. I mean, our generation versus my students' generation, they actually don't care about their data. Their data is already everywhere with TikTok and everything as well. They trust, and I think the trust is the key here. Trust breeds transparency, we always say. And I think as long as the brands like Hyatt and Delta are actually creating that trust, and that's going to actually, that paradoxical P is going to disappear, and definitely with the digital identity coming in, and that's going to actually take care of this as well.
No, I like that. I actually do think brands and trust are going to become even more important, so we can park that. But actually, Heather, what's your thought on security?
The world of hoarding data is coming to an end. Think of it as you're going to recondo here. You do not need to take the data that you used to from your customers, because your customers are going to be carrying their own data. And what that does is reduces your security risk. Why are you sitting on all the data you don't need on a regular basis and creating yourself as a target as an organization? You don't need to do that anymore. You're going to have the ability with a verifiable credential or a digital travel credential to use selective disclosure and only take the information you need to make a business decision about your guest. CETA is leading the effort in the travel and hospitality space around a digital travel credential in creating specifications in which everyone can participate. In fact, they recently signed a collaboration agreement with IDEMIA talking about how technically you can do this. But ultimately, security that we're doing now, it doesn't work. It's not protecting people. Younger people are also traveling with paper. Well, they're not traveling with paper because they end up in places without their paper passport asking, can't you just have my mom send it to you? We have an entire generation that does not understand why, for trust, in travel, you need a plastic card or a piece of paper. So how do we create the security and trust in a digital mechanism that these new generations that are coming into experience can take with them? And that's what organizations like CETA or IDEMIA or those that have moved to the digital travel credential and are collaborating with Delta and hotels to bring those online, because ultimately it delivers far more security than what we experience today.
Great, thank you, Heather.
You know, I
Sean.
think a couple of things. First, giving customers the choice to opt in is fundamental, and everything that we do really focuses on that. Let the customer choose how much they want you to know about them and how much they want you to use that. The second thing that's really interesting, though, especially with Gen Z and Gen Y, is there's an orientation to expect personalization. And what that means, therefore, is you need to use data to create relevant experiences for them. But that interest is in the almost 90%. So how do we meet that expectation while still being secure? And then I'm going to mirror what Heather is saying. You know, when we launched digital ID here in the United States, we were the first airline to launch it with the TSA. Notice that we're not storing the pictures. The way digital ID works is you have to show an ID. You just use your face to go through TSA. And because you have a passport number on file with your Delta SkyMiles profile, we're able to run that passport as your ID against the CBP database and see if there's a match between the photo we take of you and the photo on your passport. We don't store that photo, right? But we're enabling a more seamless experience for you. So how you design the process and the product without having to capture the data, but run it up against other existing data sources, that's another piece of it. So I think the key for us is customer choice, opting in, and designing experiences that are relevant, and then designing them in a way that doesn't hoard the information.
Wow, that's great.
The only thing I'd add, because I absolutely agree, is the data stewardship behind all of this and only taking what you need. I think in the beginning it was a lot of like, just take it all, because why not? And I don't think that that's brands' approaches anymore, right? One, there's too much risk associated with storing that kind of data in that mass, and then you're, as we were just discussing, that's your job now to protect it. So truly focusing in on the aspects and the assets that you need within that is absolutely, I think, where you'll see not just obviously Hyatt hotels, but all brands pushing, because that's just the more efficient way to also just enact business day to day.
Great, thank you. So when tech works, it's great, right? I think we all agree on that. Then when it doesn't work, not so great. I have to say, my experience traveling here, I didn't talk to one person at the hotel. I downloaded the app, I went in, I went to a kiosk, I put in my room number, thought for sure, made a key, thought for sure this isn't gonna work, right? You know, traveling up there, it worked. Got a note, ready to check out, Sherry? Boom, same thing. I didn't have any human interaction, and I'm not sure what I felt about that. So I'm curious what everyone thinks about that, because I think that's going to be one of the key things that we need to consider for the future.
But as Ranjan said, it's optional, right? So you chose not to talk to people. So we're always talking about human touch and technology. So as long as the companies can actually give that choice, and then again, new generation, after 10-hour flights, 16-hour flights, and they might not want to talk to the receptionist or even wait in line 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I do the same thing. You can actually order your quiet car in Uber or Lyft, and that's just really the choice. And I think you have a choice. You had a choice. You can just wait in line and talk to the receptionist and then do that. So I think that's the key, is the supplier should actually give that choice. Do you want to have that frictionless, no human touch? You can still talk to them if you like, but I think that's just really the case.
Right, no, that's fair. And actually, I could have stood in line, and I like technology, so I wanted to see if it would work. But fair enough. Heather.
And we're moving into a world where you have peer-to-peer connections that can stay persistent after you leave and continue that relationship. So if anything, you're moving into a world of stronger digital relationships based on actual information that you've provided consent. But in your experience, why are you traveling? It's probably not to talk with a check-in. It's probably not to spend time trying to get a room key. You're traveling for the experience of the hotel, to engage with the restaurant or the spa or the excursion. And what you just described actually gave you more time to do and engage with the people you want to engage with and the reason why you're traveling and spending money. So if anything, you got a higher value when you depart the property because you spent that extra 10 to 1 hour doing what you want to do.
That's right. That's right.
You know, we're in the business of bringing people together physically. We've brought billions of people together for 100 years. So we believe living life in person with human connection is fundamental, truly. The second thing that's really interesting, and I think, Arlie, you and I probably share this, is the number 2 thing besides fundamental on time that people, our customers, care about is actually the connection with our people, our Delta people and the customer. No customer wants to feel like a number. And when we carry 500,000 to 700,000 people a day, there's a high risk of people feeling like a number, right? And so where we find personalization to be so powerful is when a flight attendant can seek out a customer and celebrate their million-miler status, or thank them for their business, or acknowledge a service failure, right? These are really important human connections that, again, the data and personalization enable. So I think there's 2 things here. Sure, you have the choice to avoid that interaction, but when that interaction happens, your people need to know about that customer, their context, and meet them where they are with the right set of empathy and engagement, because that's what people will talk about when they get through their trip. I had this incredible experience with this flight attendant. She or he did X, Y, Z for me. They knew me. They understood what I wanted. And so how do we balance that while, of course, giving customers back time and making things more frictionless and travel-free?
I started at the front desk. That was my first, I would say, exposure to the hospitality team. And so I started on property, and I would say even the joy that I feel now doing my job, empowering and building tools for our colleagues on property, comes from that experience of mine and being able to engage with guests. And you will remember someone's name at the restaurant. You will remember your server's name. You will remember Jessica, who checked me in at the front desk yesterday at the Venetian. So you remember these people and places in time. I think having the optionality to do things in a more expedited way, absolutely. And actually our research shows that we've conducted ourselves that pre-COVID, up and up and up. No one wanted to see anyone. We wanted to go. We wanted to do seamless check-in. We wanted to go right to our room. We wanted to have our mobile keys. Post-COVID, a huge resurgence of wanting to speak to someone, wanting to ask questions, wanting to get insights about the locale that you're visiting. And so the pendulum, I think, will continue to switch. So as long as you have that optionality and you're building products, again, that is frictionless for those and what they want to do in the moment, your brand will be winning. I think removing all person from that, I think, will never be the true answer. And I think that that's where care and empathy absolutely merges in, because whether it's a service recovery or a special moment that you can help make, or you learn something as a colleague to make that event even more special, that's really what we're here to do and make happen.
Oh, great. I think I shared this with a couple of folks on the panel, but I've been traveling for over 30 years in the event space. And obviously, again, we all traveled to get here. Pre-9/11, and again, we were doing a big tour, an Oracle World Tour, 25 cities, 26 weeks. We would get to the airport 25 minutes before our flight, and the reservationist would say, "Can I see your ID?" Pull it out. "Did you pack your bag?" "Yes." "Did anyone give you anything?" "No." Boom. Right? I mean, look how things have changed in 25 years. I can't imagine the future, and I'm so happy. And actually, even in the Delta keynote, there are a few things. I like the augmented reality wayfinding, because again, the worst thing is you get off a plane. Wait, where am I going? I'm tired. But man, that would be killer, even here at CES. And then what I loved the most was the predictions about the future, and actually a panel that with children. What children envision, things like Roblox or wings that expand or contract, or sustainable materials. So maybe everyone could give a little bit of, like, what do you think is going to happen, or what are your, I mean, I'm completely optimistic about the future of travel. I think that we're on the right direction. I love everything that you're all doing. I love the students, that we're really getting them involved in the future. And by 2030, 70% of the workforce is going to be millennials and Gen Zs. They're going to have a big say on all of this. So maybe the last few minutes we could maybe like predictions or things that you'd like to share that you haven't shared. And I don't know if we can open it up for if anyone has questions too, feel free to jump in, but maybe we could use the last few minutes for that.
I think my prediction is not even a prediction, it's reality now. In the future, even now, AI is going to be part of our lives, whether you like it or not. So AI is the key, big part of our lives. And then it's just my only fear is right now wild, wild west. Who's going to basically regulate AI? Right now, people talk about AI as we've talked about internet in 1990s. Right, it's exactly the same. Then the regulation of AI is that where I'm actually curious what's going to happen on that. EU is far ahead of America and Asia in this case, so I'm looking forward for governmental involvement in terms of regulating AI. But AI is there; it's going to be a big part of our lives.
That you're moving into the center of your travel journey, that you're the one that is going to be in a position to provide information and your preferences. And so frictionless travel, you're going to be the center of that. And there's tremendous collaboration across the industry, across technology, airlines, hotels, even global regulations, and especially in the technology world, to really bring this together. So as we're moving into this world of AI, the AI is powered by you and the information that you want to share about yourself.
Well, I'm going to say I love your BYOB. So bring your own biometrics.
Bring your own
I think that's
biometrics.
something we should mandate for going forward.
I think we all agree on this panel that travel is a gift. Every time you travel, you learn, you experience the world. It's fantastic. Travel can also be stressful. If you think about planning your trip and coordinating all the things you need to coordinate, if you think about showing up at an airport you don't know and navigating through it, how to navigate the whole process can be stressful. And I think in the future, that stress, if we do our jobs properly, will go away. And people will be delighted at every single stage. So imagine having a conversation with the Delta concierge about the trip you want to have. And you're not having to go and search in 5 different Google searches and take all these notes down and figure out how to do all these multiple bookings, but you're having that conversation, and that becomes a seamless thing. Then you get to the airport, and someone is helping you navigate through, at the right time, everything you need to know and offering you opportunities along the way. And then you get on board the airplane, and you've got thousands of hours of content, and they help you, based on your interest, to utilize that time in the best way that you want in that connected environment. And then they help you on the journey on the ground, right? We showed yesterday this cool notion of Uber, Joby, and Delta working. So imagine doing an address to address search on Delta.com, right? I think that's the future, is taking all the stress out, making what is an amazing experience delightful as you go through the entire journey, from inspiration of your trip all the way to the execution of getting to that destination.
And the only layer I'll say is like adding personalization throughout that. So as an experiential, are you in different modes while you travel? I travel with 3 children under 6 often when I'm not traveling by myself. And that is a very different mode for me, right? Very different shoes, very different mindset. So I think in that sense, that's where you'll start to see as well the layers of what you need to accomplish in that moment. And so for me on this trip, it's get to the hotel seamlessly, quickly, have different things along the way, be able to bypass with the most time possible and get into the work mode. In different modes, it's completely different. And I think whether that starts with an offer, whether that starts with the correct destination of where you're staying, whether that states exactly what seating arrangement you need while going through this, all of that together allows us to be more proactive and put these experiences in front of our guests to have a better experience along the way and achieve that delightful intent.
Excellent. Well, we have about a minute left. Any quick questions, comment? Yes.
My name is Chase, and nice to hear your presentation. I think one of the partnership I saw that was missing at the Delta 100 was if there could be a partnership with Delta and Hyatt. I know there's already a Delta hotel somewhere, but I see that when event activations are being done, technology can go a longer way. That from the time I'm stopping at the airport to checking into an hotel, I should be able to have a brief of what is happening at an event, if I need to order some grocery. Like CES is overwhelming, and I would like to see that from next year, travel companies can also start working with event partners to say, okay, how do we make this easy for delegates who are coming out of the country to be able to be aware of what is on ground and how we can support them? Thank you.
Excellent. Well, what I'm going to say is you've got the best panel up here, and these folks have been spending every day leading and innovating, and so I'm sure that they'll take your words to heart. Yes?
Yeah, I'm just curious about the whole idea that the digital nomad, the person who's traveling all the time. Do you see a rise in that percentage, or just trying to make it very leisure, but just not living anywhere, living in hotels? Do you see that at all?
We do, and we have specific programs. I think Dr. K actually mentioned one, which is called Together by Hyatt, or Work from Hyatt. And so we did have a lot of that. I would say the continuation of that program, still in existence today and seeing great responses, which is I want to be able to go to the Bahamas, I'm going to work online for a week, and I need a different mode, like I was mentioning before, to be able to accomplish that. And then I will have 2 weeks of vacation post that, and that will all be within the same contained environment. So absolutely, and I think the programs around that was a direct reflection of us listening. So your question just now, we listened to our guests as we went through specifically the pandemic and what needs they were having change, and we responded with programming around that, and it's been immensely successful.
You know, and just going back to Chase's question,
Yes.
I think there is so much choice that it is overwhelming. You don't even know how to go through Netflix or YouTube's library of content or what to go do at CES. And this is where personalization can come in, and we can help you based on what we know about you, what you've shared with us, serve up recommendations that are far more curated. And I think this is where AI has such an opportunity to help travelers all over the world make the best of the limited time they have at a destination. So it's thanks for the push on that.
Great. And then I think one more question back in the back.
Yeah, so first of all, great panelists. I just wanted to echo what Ranjan was saying because, being a flight attendant and at the training center of our company, we want to make sure that all our flight attendants are empowered using AI to personalize that service. So every moment matters for all our passengers. And it's true, I can echo that because we live that lifestyle every day. So I just wanted to ensure.
Oh, that's great. Well, that actually adds a whole nother overlay on this too about even training our employees on AI. I know at Freeman we've started actually doing AI roundtables and getting people to not be afraid of it. And as Dr. K said, you're already using it, it's in your world, but really kind of pulling that out. And I don't know, last question or comment on that one?
One of the first places we're going to deploy AI is actually at our reservation call centers to arm our specialists with, when you get all these questions and they've got to go into 7 or 8 different systems, let the Delta concierge have an employee-facing version of it and help them answer those questions faster to give time back to the customer, and also allow the specialist to really spend time on connecting with the customer, right, and being hyper relevant. So I think at the next CES we'll learn a lot more about how we're using AI agents to help our own people navigate, be smarter, understand context.
I agree. We have 3 major segments we're looking at, right? And I have the bespoke privilege of being over not only obviously all of our guest-facing tools that you all use every day, our customer-facing tools if you're booking events, but also our colleague tools. And so I think watching that arc of the empowerment, we always say from bellman to CEO will be empowered by this. Now, whether or not they need to be trained on what an LLM is, no, right? Can they feel empowered because they have better information than ever and they know that your name is Dr. K and you want to be called Dr. K instead of Richie and what that means to you? Absolutely, right? And I think that that's where we get really excited about the personalization that we can offer.
AI is really the empowerment of personalization. That's really key because authenticity is the currency of the future. And you face a world where AI becomes an easy way just for everyone to make the same decision, everyone to say the same thing. But it's how you empower yourself with that information to create an authentic response and experience.
Excellent. Well, I think before it's been 0 here for a number of minutes on our countdown timer, but thank you all. You've been a great audience. Thank the panel. You're excellent and keep on innovating. I'd also like to thank Robin Raskin and her team from the virtual events group and Carrie and whatnot. Maybe we'll see you all next year, and I think we'll probably be around too if you'd like to actually ask any questions. So enjoy your time at CES, and hopefully your travels will be seamless.
Thank you for moderating. Excellent job.